keep that in there. That's the transition. So, for people listening who don't know who you are, how would you describe your job and what you do?
So I'm a basketball trainer. I guess, you can say like an athletic trainer, but definitely more in the basketball training area. I do some work on like vertical jump and things like that, but I'm not certified in that. But for the most part, yeah, it's just basketball training, run camps, group work, individual stuff. And I also coach as well, and so I'm pretty active in the game. But I just started my own business called Will Swiggum Training, and I've been doing that for probably the last, 6 years, something like that, officially as a business. But it's been going longer. It's just because I was playing and training like at the same time, so I wasn't like charging people. They were just working out with me. But then just did camps and kind of made it into a business, and then it's grown a lot since. But yeah, so just running your own business, basically, that's what I'm doing.
That's how we met, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was basically the first iteration of Will over Skill.
Pretty much, yeah. You and Justin, like Justin obviously was like the beginning, but that was before we were just like shooting together, like, you know what I mean? And then I remember you were at a camp, and that's where I remember, and I think you just came from the pool. So you had like swimming trunks on, and you had like kind of like squinty eyes, like you've been in the chlorine. So like, I don't know, I just remember that. But you were like smaller, and you didn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
And then you started getting older, and then you would show up at the gym more. So like you showed up a couple times, and you were just shooting or doing whatever, and I was like working out with Justin. And then I think you just like sat and watched, and then started talking, or I talked to you or something, and then I think eventually you just started showing up more and more and more. And then I was just like, you want to hop in? And you started doing it. And
yeah,
that's pretty much how it went. But yeah, I feel like you were in like 4th grade when I first saw you.
Yeah.
And then I don't think we didn't start anything until you were probably like, I don't know, 7th grade maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild. The amount of work we were putting in at such a young age.
Yeah.
Like my 8th grade, I think it was after my 8th grade year that we really started going hard, because in 8th grade, I was on the 8th grade team, and I averaged like 8 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Justin in 7th and 8th grade, this kid was averaging like 30. Like,
Yeah.
he was just murdering people.
Yeah.
He was like the prodigy.
But I feel like that's just because he could shoot.
Yeah.
That wasn't, I mean, like, and that's most people now. It's like, if you can shoot at an early age, you're a weapon, because like there's so many kids that are athletic and they can get by people, but they just sag off you and whatever. But if you could shoot, but yeah, you could shoot the crap out of it.
So my 8th grade year, I was averaging 8 points a game, and then that summer we really went hard.
Yeah.
Like we were, if I remember right, we were like in the gym probably starting at 6 a.m. During the week, and you would get on our ass if we weren't there.
Yeah.
You were pushing us like, you got to fucking be here.
Yeah.
Which was really good for me at the time.
Yeah.
It's a really good lesson to learn. But that whole summer, from 8th grade going into 9th grade, I went from averaging 8 points in 8th grade to the next year averaging like 8 points a game on varsity. Like just making that leap from one summer of work.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of crazy what can happen if you just put your head down for like even a short period of time.
Well, like back then we didn't really know what we were doing. I didn't. I mean, I just knew like once I was like committed to it, and like this is what I'm going to do, and like this is what I want to do to separate myself from other people, then I'm just like, if I'm literally not having a job and I'm not as committed towards school, then if I'm going to be like known for something, then I'm putting everything into this. And so it's like, yeah, like I'm getting up and I'm being on time and getting up early before anybody else is getting up. And I think that I just had to have you guys there too to like hold me accountable for it, because anybody's going to be like, oh, I'm starting a New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose this much weight. I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week, things like that. And you eventually just like lose track of it because you're just by yourself and the only person pushing you is you. And so that's why I always had people with me, because even if you guys were younger, because you guys held me accountable, because I'm like, if you guys got to be, if I told you got to be there, then I better be there.
Right.
And so, and I think along the way I knew that it was a good idea, because it was developing good habits for you guys. Like, got to be on top of my shit. I got to make sure I'm there ready to work hard, even if it's early when other people don't want to do it and I don't feel great doing this. In the long run, it's going to help me out. And then you're going to have more time throughout your day to continue to better yourself, whether you want to lift weights later or go back and shoot again or do whatever you want to do in the summer and still be a kid. So that was kind of my whole thing on it. Like, I can still be really, really committed towards this and like work really hard, but I can also have a life too out of this if I wake up earlier or work harder.
It almost was like being that disciplined and committed to it, though, was so much more satisfying than like just running around like a kid, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, we'd get there at 6 a.m. And at that time, I mean, your training's evolved so much from now, but at that time we were just getting up a ton of shots and doing ball handling.
Yeah.
And we would probably do that till like 8 or 9, then go home and then like lift around noon.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we'd come back and shoot more.
Right.
And then sometimes in the evening, on top of all that, we'd go to the pool and do a workout.
Yeah.
So it was just like this constant, like, rep after rep, like day after day, just putting a brick up.
Yep.
And that just like was so satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Like, that felt so good to like be so committed to something, working towards it every day, even when you didn't feel like it.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of kids, they didn't get that experience.
Yeah.
So it's nice now that you as a trainer can provide that for a lot of people around here, because I don't think a lot of kids have that example to follow.
Yeah. And I think it's tough because I think like there's a small amount of small percentage of people that actually like that process. The process is hard, but to get better, but you can make it fun, and you can, like, if you're seeing results, then obviously it makes you want it more. And so like, I knew that like conditioning in the pool was really good for me. And I knew that I also needed to like getting burnt out is a thing. And so I didn't want that to happen for me. I didn't want that to happen for you guys, because I wanted you to be there to hold me accountable. But I also and I wanted it to be fun. Like, I wanted you to show up and want to continue to keep doing it. So how do we find ways to switch it up? And I think that was like my biggest thing, because one, I wasn't the most skilled person, but my workouts and what I did in the summer was so consistent. Like, nobody was going to outwork me. And I felt like that whole like being consistent thing was a huge part of my development. And then so like I didn't want to get burnt out. I didn't want to lose what I was doing really good at. So how do I make it more fun? Like, okay, well, instead of just going and shooting 1,000 shots on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like, shoot 1,000 shots on a Monday, maybe play pickup on a Tuesday, go to the pool on a Wednesday, do ball handling. Like, you just start chopping it up a little bit more. And then that way, over time, you're doing stuff every day. And that just like over time, you build like this player, then you can really get a lot better. So, and I think, because I used to just be like, oh, I'm just going to go in the gym for 3 hours, and then 3 hours, and then 3 hours, and 3 hours. And then pretty soon I was getting sick of it. And I think that's one of the things now, that my workouts are shorter. And we try to do like, I'll have like, they'll come in for a workout, and we'll start with some type of drill or something that's like fun or like challenging, or like test their mental capacity or basketball IQ, or it's athletic ability. And it's just like makes it enjoyable. And that's what I want training to be. I also want it to be tough, and I want them to learn a lot, and I want it to be like, you're going to a lesson, so that you can actually learn. But I also want it to be fun, where they're like, man, I've never done this before, or that's really tough. Like, I want to get better at that. Let's try that next time. And then they're more willing to want to come back and continue to keep doing it. So I knew it was tough. And there were some kids that worked out with us that didn't last because it was such a grind. So yeah, I don't know. I think that was my biggest thing, is just like making it so that I want to continue to keep doing it from when June started all the way until end of August when I left for school. So
it seems like there are many different ways to develop yourself. And I think one of the best ways to do it is to have a craft that you're mastering that takes a lot of time, that you have to show up towards consistently and get better at. And it seems like you've almost taken basketball and used it as a vehicle for self-development that's now bigger than just like a game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's helped me, and basketball has just really like improved my overall like my communication with people. just like my connection with people, like how I understand how people feel in settings. Like I can tell if this kid is pissed off or he's happy or he needs to pick me up or not. And just reading body language in people. I think that it's also helped my organizational skills, just being more organized, being ahead of my text and making sure I'm, scheduling people in times. It's still really tough, but I think that's something that I've learned a lot from just doing this. Running a business, obviously, just, money wise, like how to charge people and how to, make sure you're staying on track of your stuff. Being able to advertise yourself and then getting into almost like video editing and videography has came from basketball. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I'm jumping to now. And that's always been something that I've like loved, but it's just, I feel like it just kind of, I've always been creative. I just think that, and like I've been creative in terms of basketball too, like coming up with drills or, finding ways to make it fun. And then I think that just kind of carried over into that kind of stuff as well, editing, camera work, things like that. But I'm learning a lot through that. And so I think basketball has really kind of brought me into those things and helped me develop myself in those areas. I would say also like my patience has really helped a lot. I'm still working on it, but like you have to be patient when you're working with kids because some kids will pick up, they like learn differently than everybody else. So you might be able to understand a footwork concept and the next kid can't. And I got to be able to simplify it. And I think that that's super important in terms of learning. So you take a really complex, thing that you're trying to teach and you got to be able to find a way to simplify it, make it easier. I always use like analogies, teaching floaters, throw it up soft, like you're trying to not break the egg on the backboard or talking about footwork. And I always talk about like, getting into your stance. Think about a volleyball player, but a track athlete, trying to find the difference in between, like mixture of both. And they kind of like, oh, okay, slide my feet here, get them there. That kind of looks like that. And that helps with like younger kids. And it's easy to like, then if I explain that to you, then you're going to be like, yeah, I know what you mean. So, cause you could be like, I feel like you could be really like a trainer that, and I think that this is the important part. I feel like you don't have to be a player to be a trainer. But I do feel like it does help a lot. But I feel like you have to be a really good teacher and you have to be a really good communicator. So if you can't, you could like, I could know everything in the book. Like I could be a non-basketball player and just know everything in the book. And I speak to you in this really like educated way and super complex, but you don't know anything what I'm talking about and you cannot pick it up. Then that doesn't make me a good trainer. Like I'm not a good teacher. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you go into a math class or, a different classroom and they're just speaking like crazy amount of stuff. And it's just like, you're like, whoa, like it's just too much. Versus the teachers that can really simplify it and make it easier for you. So that's something that I'm working on too. And I think that's helped a lot with me too, is just like taking these like more complex things or moves or things like that and trying to break them down so people can understand them.
That's interesting because I don't think I would ever want to be trained. Let me reword this. I wouldn't want someone.
Can I turn this off quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want someone teaching me basketball who doesn't play basketball.
You wouldn't want, say it again?
So I wouldn't want someone to teach me how to play basketball who doesn't play basketball.
Sure. Would they have to be, like, what would be your criteria on that? Like, would they have to be a high school player? Would they have had to play high school or college or pro or what?
I would say at least high school.
Okay.
Because I feel like they can know the drills and the skill work and stuff like that, but I think there's an element of understanding how a team works, understanding how to play your role, understanding being in competitive situations, understanding pressure, understanding, situations that you can only get in a game.
Yeah.
That I feel like a player can provide with their, what do you call them, a client or a kid or what do you, a player?
Yeah,
a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's certain aspects that I feel like only a player could provide to another player from having played the game.
Right.
And I'm sure there's probably great trainers who haven't played, but I don't know. Just to me, it's like, if you're going to be a trainer, I feel like you should have played basketball.
Tell me this, like, guys that train NBA players, like, are they NBA players?
No, that's right.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, you're right. Like, I 100% agree. I think you need to have some experience. if you literally didn't touch a basketball, or, you need to have a feel for the game a little bit. And, like obviously being a coach, they could just be a coach. Like what if they're a high school coach and then he's working you out? It's the same. I mean, if he maybe never played, but just been around the game a lot and coached it and stuff, they probably still know a lot. But yeah, there's just the whole sense of feel, right? And be able to demonstrate too is important. Like, I think that's one of the positive things that I have is I'll have kids that'll be like, can you show me? And I'll be like, all right, yeah, let me just show you quick. And I can do it at a high level and a high speed, and I can, hit my shots and do it with both hands and go both ways. And I think that obviously it adds to, just their learning. Visual learners, I'm a big visual person. So I think that that's a plus. But I also think you can also be an NBA player. Like we could have an NBA guy come down and teach us, and we learn shit from them because they don't teach you anything. They just show you everything, and they don't talk about it while they're doing it. They'll just be like, well, this is how I do my crossover. And they just do it. And then they don't tell you well, this is where I put my foot. This is how I cross over low. This is how I change my speed here, or how I look people off, or this is the read. They don't teach you any of that kind of stuff. Then you can maybe pick up some things visually. You could watch YouTube right now and watch Trae Young or Steph Curry do a move, and you can kind of pick it up. But you might not learn the concepts of it, and you might not know when to do it. I don't know, So I've heard that before though. Some NBA guys are not good teachers. They could run camps and stuff, and it's not as good versus a guy that really can communicate well and show it too.
Right, because the craft is different. As a trainer, your craft is becoming so good at training people.
Yeah.
Whereas a basketball player, their craft is becoming very good at playing basketball.
Yeah.
They're two completely different things.
Well, and I think also too, besides just training people, you have to train yourself. So I train myself a lot too. I have to become the best player that I can still be, in order to be able to understand concepts and how to do things correctly. I think that's again my advantage. I don't know everything in terms of footwork maybe or reads or things like that. I'm getting better at that stuff, but I think what I can do is just demonstrate things well, and then also teach it too. I'm not going to demonstrate something I've never done before and don't have any info on it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to teach what I know. You know what I mean? And I'm going to show how I do it. And then that way they can learn from me. And then slowly over time, I keep adding to that. Here's a new move. I learned it. I've talked to a guy about it, or some guy hit me with this move in an open gym or something like that. And then, you start seeing it more. And then all of a sudden now you're teaching it to kids.
Is there anyone that you modeled your game after growing up?
Not really. I felt just mentality was more of what I tried to model it after. So when I was in high school, I really liked Kevin Love. Yeah, when he was with the Wolves and they sucked, but he was just a rebounding machine. And so that was just something that I really liked, how he got double doubles and just owned the glass. And he wasn't even very athletic. He was kind of big and chunky then. Mm-hmm. So he just but knew to be in the right spot, and he could rebound outside of his area. And so that was something that I was just I want to be able to do this. And I felt that was something that I was good at because, again, I wasn't the most skilled person, but I was on the higher end of being, athleticism. So mm-hmm. I'm okay, well, if this is what I want to do, I got to be able to have something in my game that can separate myself. And so, most people are how many points can I score? How I got to work at my shot and things like that. My thing that separated me was my ability to just have this, high motor and just crash the boards and get every rebound and just take it from everybody.
How many rebounds a game did you average
in high school? My senior year was 13.2. And so, I was way ahead of everybody in terms of, nobody was even close to me in terms of rebounds.
Right.
But it was, you look at me in high school, I was 6'5", 175. You wouldn't think that person would be, getting that many rebounds and just be a really good rebounder. But it was just, my mentality was I played angry and I played my hair was on fire. In terms of when shot went up, I'm grabbing, pulling, I'm thinking rebound before I'm thinking score. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me interest from schools because they're man, you just play hard on the boards, you get everything. And then that ended up turning out I started rebounding more, and all of a sudden I was scoring more, and it just sparked my aggressiveness. And now I'm getting these rebounds, I'm getting putback scores, I'm getting and ones, and then all of a sudden now I'm like feeling good, and now I'm hitting threes, I'm hitting pull-ups, I'm driving to the rim, I'm dunking, like all this stuff kind of came together based off of just me like, okay, I'm just getting every rebound.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like a big thing too, is like parents are always like, how do I get my kid to be more aggressive? Well, like it's hard to just like want to go take shots sometimes for people. Unless you're not like working on your game. Like one, you got to be working on your game so you're confident to do it. But for me, it was just like, shit, I'm going to see if I can get 5 rebounds in the first 5 minutes or 3 minutes. And then with that, points will come.
Do you think aggressiveness is something that can be taught?
I don't know. I really don't, because I feel like most kids, it's just like like how they grew up. Like, I mean, I feel like there's, unless like settings or things that happen to in your life that can spark it. For me, I was very like, I felt like I was kind of like isolated, and like, you know, I liked working out by myself. I was out to like prove to people like, I'm going to do something with my life. You know what I mean? And I think that it was just like that. I was that motivated. I was that like I'm going to show up at 6 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 3. Like I came to the gym at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and just shot. And like, because I was like pissed, because I wanted to like show people that I could do this. And I think that when I got into the games, I was like, you guys aren't fucking stopping me. I'm like, I want this. And I think that I don't know, even all my life, I just always been kind of like a little bit like higher blood pressure, like just like, I don't know, just like strung a little bit differently. Like, you know, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And, you know, sometimes I was just a little angry, you know what I mean? But I think that I learned how to channel that into sports and in a positive way. And that made me though, like aggressive, like super aggressive. And I think that stuff just came through like life experiences and, you know, just having that. I don't know. I don't say it just has to be like traumatic things or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know. I think my dad's the same way. Like, I mean, like we are aggressive people sometimes.
Maybe you learned it from him. Like you had that model.
Yeah.
Like maybe like if, you know, a parent's like, hey, how can I make my kid more aggressive? And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be so timid yourself.
Yeah, like,
and then, obviously you're probably not going to say that.
No,
that's
I know.
harsh,
I don't really know. Honestly, I feel like it's almost like a genetic thing, because I mean, it could be like rubbed off. Like, you know, you've seen like I'll do shit that my dad does like all the time. I'll say stuff that he does. I'll have mannerisms that he does. And I think that's most people. So you obviously get a lot from your parents. And just like the coaches you've been around or whoever, like some people have mentors and, you know, whatever, or other father figure type things in their life in terms of sports. But I feel like when parents are like, you got to get more aggressive and you got to like, I don't know if that always helps. Like it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. I don't
the
think
kids got to want it. I think you have to have like a motivating factor. Like I was like mine was just to prove to people like that I can play college basketball. I think people didn't even think that was possible, you know? And if not, I made mind games, like thinking that it was like them saying that.
I don't really remember many guys before you, but were you like the first kid in a long time to play college basketball coming out of St. Charles?
No, they had other people, and like probably like when I was a kid. So, I mean, and you look back now, like look at it now, like everybody's going Division I. Back when we played, like we had maybe, if they were really good, they were like D2. But that's also because of social media and just like everything is just like blown up now. They have videos on all these kids that are like ranked as like 8th graders or 7th graders, and like that was not even a thing unless you like wanted to travel to Chicago or somewhere else. And like now you can have like a buddy you can go and do AAU with, or go to a type of camp or something like that. Like then I had to like reach out on a limb and go and do some exposure camps by myself and like travel a little bit to go and do that just to get in front of college coaches. So
I think Tyus opened the floodgates.
Sure.
Because I remember at that time, like I think when I really started getting into basketball, I think Tyus was a junior. And you know, he had offers from Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, all the big schools. And I looked at the ESPN rankings before that, and in Minnesota there was like maybe one kid a year in the entire state that would go D1.
Yeah.
Maybe one kid.
Yeah.
And then after Tyus, it's like, okay, Tyus, you had Tyus, Reed Travis, Rashad Vaughn,
Yep.
that whole grade. And then like Gary Trent, and then you had Trey, and then Jalen.
There's like Amir Coffee, a couple other guys.
Yeah, and now there's just like all these dudes who in Minnesota, there's probably the top 15 dudes go D1 now. Maybe not that much, I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, Minnesota basketball is so much different than it used to be.
Yeah, it's really evolved. I mean, it's definitely, before I was like, if there's a D1 player around here, we're like, holy shit, like, that's different. You know, and now it's like there's like multiple people going D1. Like I have kids that I'm training that are like trying to get Division 1 or have like talking to Division 1 schools. They don't know if that's what they want to do or not, but like it's way more common. Back then, it's like if you go D3, man, you're like different already. You know, like now people just like downgrade D3, which I think is bad too, because like you can't, like, people don't understand how good Division 3 is. And I think that like when I hear all these kids like, oh, I'm going higher, or this is what I want to do, and I'm just like, I can tell basically what type of level the kid is just by watching him work out or play. Like if we run ones against each other or play in a pickup, like I can just tell. And one, obviously you can't teach size. Like if they're a big kid, like you already have a chance to be going higher. Like if you can move and shoot and you're a big kid, then, I mean, you definitely have a chance. Now, if you're smaller, then you have to be able to be, an elite shooter. Like, you have to be able to shoot the ball. That's just like such a important skill now. If you can't shoot, you can't. They're gonna sag off you. You're just not gonna be able to be as dynamic.
I think that's for every size now.
It is. Yeah, I mean, like I have dudes that are super tall and they're 6'7", 6'8", and they can shoot the three and like a guard.
Yeah.
Make 4 or 5 threes in a game.
Right.
But yeah, so one, you have to be, if you're a smaller guy, you got to be able to hit the shots like consistently, like Cooper. Like you just have that skill, be like super high, like Division 1 talent shooter. And then, you know, obviously you can't be rattled. You got to be like one of those guys that just can like run a team and can handle pressure and hit big shots and get people involved. And just be, you know, everybody's going to be a scorer at that level, like any level. Like, everybody on my team, pretty much, when I played at St. Mary's and we were like lower of our conference, but still in a good conference, like everybody on my team was like 1,000-point scorers in high school. Everybody was all conference, all state. Like we had good players, and then, you know, they come there and it's just the game gets way harder. Like the coaches are better, the scouting reports are better. There's like legit scouting reports, and there's, you know, like the practices are more intense. And the season is longer, and there's just there's more stress and more like just the intensity level is just, and it's a faster game.
College sports are different, man. I did not realize how much of a time commitment it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, and I liked football, but to have football take up like 6 hours of your day at least every day of the year, you have to like really love football.
Yeah.
And that's why I left. I got to the end of it, and I'm just like, I don't love football this much. I'd rather, you know, be an entrepreneur and try to start businesses and make money.
Yeah.
Because to play college sports, like, you really have to love the game.
Yeah.
And I think I loved basketball more than I did football.
Yeah.
So I think I could have stuck it out better with basketball. I mean, obviously everything happened how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, college sports they're no joke.
No, and it's just like, 100%. You can't just go and think that, oh, it's going to turn out the way you want it to, because you were the man at your school. Like, it doesn't, it's like you're starting over from scratch, and you got to prove everything again. And so, like, I was recruited a lot by the St. Mary's people, but they came in and they told me, like, hey, you have a chance to start, and, like, you could be our guy. Like, if I didn't perform well in practice, then it would have changed. You know what I mean? Like, they can play favorites all they want. They can tell you the next best thing, you know, like, and all of a sudden you show up to practice and things change, and they don't like you anymore, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then boom, now you're on the bottom of the bench and you're questioning your basketball career. And that's why I'm always just like, one, if they're like kind of a tweener and maybe they're a little smaller, but they're like, oh, I'm trying to go D2 or I'm trying to go D1 or whatever, like, it just makes me nervous because. And I want kids to like shoot for the stars, like go for it, you know, do it. but also know that if you're not going to the NBA, right, and if you're not, I mean, like maybe have a chance to play professionally overseas or whatever, but you want to enjoy your last couple years of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go somewhere I was going to play. I wanted to go and be playing full minutes and getting that type of feel of the game like I was playing in high school. But obviously it's different. But and if I had to go somewhere and sit on the bench for 3 years and then have to play my last year and just get like 7-man, 6-man minutes, like it wouldn't be as enjoyable. Now it would be rewarding to get into a higher level and play and do things, but to me it was I wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think everybody has that. Like I think it depends on the player. Everybody wants that higher level tag. I want D2, D1 tag. Like I'm a D1 player or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like that tag almost comes from a place of, wanting that validation.
Yeah.
So then that way they can, one, feel worthy about themselves, but then
Yeah.
also look cool to other people.
Yeah. And I think it's like now, so that everybody knows, oh, he plays at where,
Right.
so-and-so, like, man, he's the man. Like,
And as a high schooler, like, that's pretty common.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's literally why I wanted to play football, is I wanted to be able to – it was for the clout, 100%. It was for the validation. It wasn't because I absolutely loved football. So that'd be the other thing I'd say, like, if you're thinking about college sports, and obviously not every kid wanting to play college sports is like this, but don't do it just to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a time commitment, and you could really be spending that time doing other stuff you love for the right reasons.
Right. Yeah, and developing yourself and getting yourself better towards what, like I knew basketball was going to be something that I wanted to do. I wanted to play overseas. I wanted to do all that kind of stuff, have the hoop dream. But even that though, like it didn't pan out that way. Like my journey allowed me to get into what I'm doing now. And I stuck with it and stayed with it. Like I wanted to quit a lot of times, but I stayed with it. And now I'm able to have that credibility in terms of training. And it's important. Like obviously now if you're like, oh, I'm working with this guy and he played college basketball and, had a good career and did these things, like that definitely helps in terms of like, wanting them to come to you and work with you and give you a chance. So I think, for me it was worth it. But like I loved it. And so that's the difference. I think obviously that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't have like a backup plan. So like, I didn't think about being an entrepreneur. I didn't think about like, I had a criminal justice degree, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to play in Europe for a couple of years, come back and then figure life out. And, it didn't work that way, but I think that just sticking with basketball and still having that plan, then all of a sudden I just like fell in my lap. I started doing training kids and was like, I really like this. Like I show up to your guys' games and watch you and I'd be more hyped than like you guys would be. You know what I mean? Like I'd be intense, like sweating. My hands would get sweaty because I'm like watching you guys do stuff in games that we've worked on or whatever. And it's like fun. And so then I was like, this kind of like this feeling. I like this feeling. And I want to be able to like continue to keep doing this. And so that's when I was like, maybe, we set up a camp or we start helping more people and get to more people. And then all of a sudden now I got more kids I can go watch and get that feeling again where I'm like, man, I feel really good helping these people. And so it just kind of went from there.
It seems like with you, I can kind of tell that it's not solely just like the game of basketball. It's almost like you are given the ability to have an impact on kids' lives.
Sure.
And like be an example and be a role model and lead them. And it's like bigger than just like putting an inflatable ball in a metal circle.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like when people are working with me, we talk way more than just basketball, like more stuff like about life and just like, experiences and things that I've learned along the way. And I think I have a lot of really good experiences and things that like failures and success things that I can take with me, like that I can give to others and continue that story, that journey from mine to them so they can pave their own way. And so, we talk a lot in that kind of stuff. I enjoy that part. I obviously enjoy, just working on their game and like really trying to get these kids better. But if they're invested in me, like really like showing up all the time, like you guys were in the gym all the time with me, then I'm invested in their goals. And so I want to see them do well. But so
what are you doing? like what is kind of your life turned into now after basketball? Like what do you do to continue? Well, I'm gonna back up for a second because this is something that happened to me. Is when I had that craft of basketball, of being committed to something day in and day out, just every day showing up no matter how I felt, no matter, what the weather was, just showing up and doing the work. It gave me this commitment to a craft that gave me this level of being alive that I haven't really experienced since.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was really like discipline leading to this level of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jocko Willink always says, discipline equals freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I felt this level of experience because I was so committed to something that was different than if I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I stopped playing sports, it was like my entire identity was just obliterated.
Sure.
And I was just sitting there like, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, who am I? What do I do?
Right.
Like, if I had a free day, I didn't even know what to do.
Sure.
Because that used to just be filled with like
working out
and getting better.
Yeah.
And so now that you're not playing basketball, do you feel like you've experienced a similar thing, or is it different because you're still involved in the game?
It's a little different. That grind when I was like playing was more like, I don't know. It's similar. Like I still work out a lot, and I have to do that because again, I'm trying to make myself the best player I can be still, so that I can perform at a high level when I'm training kids. So I'm lifting like I normally would be, and I'm testing my body because I know that eventually like my body will shut down on me, and I won't be able to do what I'm doing, like jumping wise and speed wise. So like I want to milk as much of my athletic ability out as possible.
How many more years do you think you'll be able to do a 360 between the legs dunk?
I don't know. I feel like if I'm like I could do it at like when I'm 35 probably. That'd be pretty good. So that would be like 7 more years. I think I could, if I can stay with it and stay consistent, who knows?
Yeah. Just for people listening, if you don't know who Will is, I would just go check out his page on Instagram, or you're on TikTok too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's got like world-class bounce. Like, I was talking with my brother the other day about this, and we said that I think you would be in the top 100 dunkers in the country. Would you agree?
So I don't know. So I'd say like my style, there's like, I mean, I'm not like, in terms of like athletes out there, like I don't have like freaky bounce. Like I have good bounce. Like, I mean, I'm in the 40s in terms of vertical, and I'm 6'5", so I have length, so I can really get up, at a high height. Mm-hmm. But like there's dudes jumping 46, 50 inches, like this, like, head and shoulders way higher than me. But I have some good technique, and I have power, and I have finesse, and I have the ability to jump off 1 and 2 at a high level. Like I can jump probably off 2 at 40 inches, and I can probably jump off 1 over 40 inches. So I can do different dunks because of that. So I have a little bit of a deeper bag because of that. But yeah, I mean, I think I can hang with most. Like I don't think I would be, maybe winning contests, but I've definitely hit like a lot of different dunks. Now I'm getting to the point where like I'm not gonna be able to just invent new dunks. Like I'm trying to like do that, but I'm just trying to get good at dunks. Mm-hmm. There's different types, like ones that I've like can hit. So like the last couple of weeks, I haven't been practicing my dunks lately. Like I've just been taking a little break, and I just went out and like the first dunk I did, it was a between the legs off a lob, and I did it first try. Like I didn't even I was like warmed up. Like I did a couple one-handed, two-handed stuff. But I'm just like, all right, let's just get right into this. I did a windmill first, and then I was like, all right, let's just try between legs, and did our first try. And that's happened like a couple of times now where I've just like been at an open gym, and somebody's like, oh, do it between the legs. I'm like, all right, and did it and hit it first try.
That's wild, because I remember when we were training a lot, I think you were getting up there, and I think we trained all through your college career. Mm-hmm. But I remember you going into your senior year of St. Mary's, and you got like a off of 1 between the legs one time with a volleyball after like 50 times.
Yeah.
And you were like hype.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, I would be too.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that like you just like went from that being you were probably 22 at the time.
Yeah.
to now, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Like that level of like jump just after you stopped playing
Yeah.
is pretty wild.
Well, it just was like the focus, like just was like now I'm done playing. Like I want to like I'm still competitive, and so like you're telling me like what do you do when you're done playing? Well, I'm still trying to like chase things in terms of dunking. Like I want to hit new dunks. I want to get my vertical to higher. Like if I have a 43-inch vert, I can hit my head on the rim. Like I want to hit my head on the rim, and like. So I have these goals, and that makes me still focus. Like I have them written on my whiteboard in my weight room. Like when I walk into the weight room, I see that stuff, and like I'm still trying to chase it. So it's no different really. Like I still have these ways when I'm trying to work out more and that kind of thing. But yeah, like over time, like really just like practicing a lot. That's like one of the biggest things I always tell kids when they start dunking and like practicing or want to hit new dunks. I'm like, you just gotta do it more. You gotta practice it more. Like you just got to jump more and practice, like jumping off 1, 2, trying windmills on lower rims, 360s. Just see what you're capable of. And like when I was a kid, I did all that stuff on short rim.
Yeah.
And everybody did that. And so like that obviously helped in terms of my development. And then when I like got older, then I really like was like, all right, let's see what I can do. I know I can jump, but I was like, I can't jump off 2 very good. Like I could barely 2-hand dunk off 2 feet.
Yeah, I remember you couldn't really jump off too.
Yeah, and so I really worked on that.
So if someone was listening and they're just like they can't dunk, but they're close, and they wanted to get like stupid bounce, like they wanted to be able to go between the legs, what would be the progression of steps to get there?
Well, I mean, I would just work on first your basics. Like you got to get the basic 1-hand, 2-hand, and learn how to like pump the basketball so that you can like jump correctly with the ball. I think that sometimes people lose the ball, so like grip strength work. Just learning how to be able to like land basic dunks consistently so that you're not losing it. Like, can you do it with 1 hand? Can you do it with 2-hand? Can you do it off 1 or off two? Like, I would just try to hit those like basics and then get those really good. And then all of a sudden, then the next one, I would probably introduce like a 360 and try to hit a 360. Then I'd probably go to windmill. And once you can hit a windmill, then I feel like you can hit it between the legs. And so I think it comes down to hand speed, and I think it comes down to technique, and then learning if you're going to do it off the dribble, which is harder. Maybe for me anyways, like I can do both, but throwing it off a lob was easier because then I could really jump into it and do it. So like practice lobs.
Yeah.
Get good at that. Then you eventually, like once you like get your basic one down and you can catch lobs and you can jump off 1 and you can jump off 2 and hit all of those basic dunks, then I would start getting into trying to 360 or maybe like trying to throw a windmill in there and do that on like 9, 8, you know what I mean? And just like get really good at it. And so that you can do that consistently and then just slowly up it until you get to 10.
So that would be the progression in terms of like the skill of dunking. But what if someone doesn't have the bounce? Like what exercises, what do they need to do in terms to get their bounce up?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of done a lot of variations. Like I'm always like seeing shit on social media and like, oh, I'm gonna try this workout. Like, oh, I'm gonna try this one. Like listening to people what they put out there. I felt like for me, like getting stronger just in general, like really upped it. So like looking back when I was in college, I remember I was like maybe front squatting like 225 or back squatting 250 or something like that. And now that I'm, in the, 350s in terms of back squat, like my strength has gone way up. And so like I was always just this stringy, bouncy kid, but I needed strength. You know what I mean? Versus like there's some people like you who's like super strong already, like when you were an athlete, but maybe you didn't have the springiness. And that comes to plyometrics. So like you have to have the combination. I think like what you need as a player. So like if you're slow twitch and strong, like you can squat a bunch, then maybe you need to not be doing that so much and start working on the quick twitch, jump rope and plyos and box jumps and sprints and things like that. And then while also doing some strength, but it's not like I don't squat 500 pounds. I don't, deadlift over 500 pounds. Like you don't have to have that type of strength, like that crazy amount, but you need to be strong, with your weight. Like you've always heard the term fat don't fly. Like, I mean, there's exceptions, Zion Williamson or some of these other guys that are just insane bounce and they're huge. But if you're leaner, that's also important too. Like you got to be able to have good like body type
Mm-hmm.
in terms of it. So like getting control of your weight and getting control of like your diet is super important. And then having that, finding out what your body needs more of. Do I need more strength work? Do I need more plyo work? And then implementing that in more. And then once you get to about even, then you're like, now you're just trying to change it up, find different ways to, what am I trying to say? Like, confuse your body so you can get more gains. So I like power cleans because it's kind of like an explosive type lift. So that would be another thing too. Like I would say like plyos, then like explosive training, and then like strength training. Like I feel like I know strength and explosive is kind of the same, but I feel like those are different type, like full body lifts, and then like more focused work like your back squats and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the last thing that I feel like has helped me is like I really focus on a lot of smaller muscles. So like my feet and like my ankles, my calves, my tibialis muscles, my quads, my hammies, my what the fuck you call these, AB ductors? I don't know. Okay. But like that kind of stuff, and like one for knee health, but two, it also just like overall like hitting those little muscles that you don't get when you're doing back squat and power cleans and things like that, because I think that most kids just go in and do the major lifts and they don't focus on the little things that are really important as well. Helps with your balance, helps with all that kind of stuff. So I do a lot of that mobility work. I'm pretty mobile in my hips and my legs, my flexibility. Like you don't have to be extreme in those things, but it does help. Like got to have a little bit of more mobility to be able to hit those types of dunks. If you can't go raise your hip flexor, get it up and, get your hips up when you're trying to go between the legs, it obviously hurts you. So that's one of the things. I know one of the dunks I was trying to hit was a scorpion dunk, where you like go behind your head and like dunk this way, kind of like over your back.
Damn.
And I couldn't do it because I didn't have the shoulder rotation, like the mobility to do it. So like my wife was like teaching me stretches and different things I can do to get it. And eventually I like hit a windmill where I like threw it off, caught it, and then did that. And it was a good dunk. Like it worked good, but had to work for that to get like good at that mobility stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have like a specific thing. I would just say I try to hit plyos probably like 2 to 3 times a week. Try to hit my strength stuff another 2 to 3 times, like kind of change them up here and there. And then just make it fun so I'm not doing the same stuff over and over. I've been doing a lot of sprints lately because it's been getting nicer out, so I go to the football field and run sprints. Probably do that once to twice a week. I do a day where I'm just doing like small muscles. I do a day where I'm just doing like heavy lifts. And then maybe I'll have another day like spaced out there where I'm doing heavy or plyo or whatever. So combination stuff. But
So to take a little bit of a pivot, what video games have you been playing lately?
Well, I've just picked up a lot of games, but I haven't been playing them as much. I don't know. Me and my wife were talking about this the other day because she collects a lot of books, and she likes to get books, and she knows that she might not read them, but she just like wants them.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
There's
you just have like because they look cool or like
Yeah.
you want the book. Yeah,
For me, it's like if I think that I'll read it at some point,
then you'll get
I'll
it.
just get it. And I heard this one thing it was actually in the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Rami Sethi, which I didn't really like that book that much. But in the book, he talks about how books are such a great investment because even if you say you spend $15 on a book, but you take one thing out of it,
It's
worth it.
Yep.
So I'll buy books that like, even if I'm not going to read them cover to cover, like, okay, this sounds interesting. And then I've had this happen where I buy a book, I don't touch it for a few months. And then one day, I'm like, it feels time to read this book. And then I'll read that book and it's a good book.
Yeah.
So
do you ever get any books that are not just like self-development or like things like that, like for just like leisure?
yeah. And I'm really trying to get more into that because I'm getting tired of self-development because they're basically all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So for example, I mean, I really lately I've been reading more like financial books.
Sure.
Like trying to increase my financial IQ and
But even that's still kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like, don't like just like pull
You're
out a
saying
Harry
like
Potter
oh
or
like a
something
fiction book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I have that one up there that was recommended to me called Ministry of the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson.
Sure.
It's like a sci-fi book.
Yeah.
I haven't got into a ton of fiction yet.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, I haven't had a ton of leisurely books. Biographies are kind of like leisurely. I have the Steve Jobs one, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like self-development reading is like a good like way to get into reading,
Mm-hmm.
but like
It's hard to stay with it.
hard to stay with it. You
Yeah, it
almost
gets
gotta,
boring.
Yeah, it does. You gotta
Yeah.
find what you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like, I mean, I've read a couple books. I'm not a big book reader. I need to be more, but, like, I'll read some, like, I read, like, a self-developing, like, coach one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, developing the inner style of coaching and, like, how to figure out, like, your style of coaching and what's going to help your team. So I've read one like that. I've read one, it was about, like, a training camp, NFL training camp with a guy that was, like, an unsigned free agent, and he's trying to make the team, and it was like his story, and you learn a lot of lessons along the way, but it's also his story too, which was a good one. Obviously a lot more sports for me. I have some self-development ones, and I have like run your own business, and like, like I have a basketball weightlifting type book thing that I've had. Like I just haven't.
Do you have a favorite book?
I don't know. I really like that training camp one. I don't even know what the name was. It was short though. It was probably like 200 pages maybe.
Yeah.
Just quick read. Like, didn't take me that long, and I'm a slow reader. So, but it was like good. Like I felt like I wanted to keep reading, and I'm not like that type of person.
Yeah, those are the books you got to look for.
Yeah.
Like when I'm buying books, I'm just looking for the next book.
Yeah.
For me to be like, I can't put it down.
Sure.
And it doesn't happen that often.
No.
But there's a few books. I would say like the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I don't even know where it is. It's probably by my bedside. I read that almost every day, and I've been reading it for over a year now.
It's a big book.
No, it's really not that
You
big.
just read a short like page or two.
Yeah, it's fucking phenomenal, dude. It's essentially Naval Ravikant's all of his tweets, blogs, podcasts. This guy took them and condensed them into a book.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't write it, but it's just like all of his teachings. And he's this angel investor from Silicon Valley. He's been in the tech industry forever, and he's also has philosophy. So he like mixes business and philosophy. And then he talks about wealth and like how to get wealthy.
Sure.
But he does it in a way where it's not like invest 40% into stocks and save this amount and do this real estate deal. It's more so like principles.
Sure.
Like he has this whole like tweet storm on how to get rich without getting lucky.
Uh-huh.
And there's like foundational principles that can be applied across many disciplines. And so I really like that aspect of it. It's like taking more of like a theoretical approach of getting wealthy. But then he also has a balanced approach where he's like, getting wealthy is not going to fulfill you. This is what he says. He's like, solving money is not going to solve all your problems, but it's going to solve your money problems.
Okay.
So then you can focus on your other problems.
Right.
And so I like that balanced approach too, where it's like he's coming at it from a perspective of like you don't need money in order to feel whole.
Yeah.
But it's still almost like a wise path to pursue.
Right.
So that book I fucking love.
Yeah, it's good.
And then there's a couple other that have been like real page turners for me, but
yeah.
Well, we were talking about video games. We got on books.
I'm trying to think. So, I was obviously like on the sports grind. I've been playing a lot of like NCAA football, just because they don't really make those anymore. So like I've been playing that. I started Dynasty or whatever.
What year?
12, I think. I don't have the 14. If you find NCAA 14, like get it, because it's like worth like $150.
No shit.
Yeah, if you can find a good deal on it, but.
Because everyone's holding it. Because
it's the last one, and so like everybody's still playing it. So it's like
that game was fucking fun.
Yeah. So I have 12. It's basically the same thing as 14. Just like there's a little more updates, but so I played that. I played Dynasty mode in that.
What position?
What do you mean?
What position do you make your player?
I don't make a guy. I do like an actual team.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm doing like a Dynasty.
If you were to make a guy, what position would he be?
Well, he'd probably have to be like quarterback, but I feel like defense would be kind of fun too, like linebacker or somebody like that. Just like teeing off on guys, hitting the hit stick. So I've been playing that. I'm trying to think what other ones, like games that I've picked up recently. I picked up like, what else? I've caught in so many. Like, I literally had to reorganize my shelf. I don't have room anymore. So I have too many. I have over probably like 300 games.
Damn.
I know.
Do you play all of them?
I've played probably all of them, but I still have probably like 15 to 20 of them I haven't played yet since I've gotten them. And that's the same thing. I'm just like, I kind of wanted it, but like I just ordered a game online that was like an old football game, but it was something I got for Christmas when I was like a kid, and I lost it. I don't have it anymore. So I'm like, I gotta get this.
Yeah.
It's just like nostalgic.
Yeah.
I'll probably turn it on and put it in once and play it, and then I'll probably never play it again.
Video games seem to like give you the ability to like enter into different dimensions.
It does. I mean, you feel like you're like a kid again. I can literally like smell Christmas. Like if I put that game in, just like the feel of it, everything, like just like there's like turning on my PlayStation 1, I just like feel like I'm upstairs in my mom's room with her carpet and like, you know, like the old Zenith TV, like all that shit. Like literally remember all of that. And so like, yeah, that's why I hang on to that stuff, because it reminds me of like it being a kid. And like I'll buy games that I maybe played at like a friend's house or something like that. I remember playing it, or like whatever, just like things that are like I have ties to. And then if there's like a good game or whatever, then I'll obviously get it. But I usually have a reason why I'm getting games.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like I remember when the one game I really got into is Skyrim. And in Skyrim, you have this ability to create a character from scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, in the game, they have what they're called races, but you can like be these different types of. They have like a lizard, a cat character.
Yeah.
You can be like a Nord. You can be like an elf. You can be like an orc, and then you can like customize how they look and then their attributes as well.
Yeah.
So there's so much customizability, and it almost like gives you the ability to mold this character to be however you want it.
Yeah.
And what I found is that I really liked being like a stealthy sniper with a bow. Like I was like a stealthy assassin.
Yeah.
And then I'd have daggers for like to do sneak attacks.
Oh, okay.
And you can like choose the armor and the stuff they wear. So there's so much customization.
You can play the game how you want to play it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it becomes a metaphor for life. Like I like to look at my life that way. Like I'm a video game character.
Yeah.
And I get to build my different attributes.
Sure.
So like if you want to get bigger, okay, you got to eat more of this.
Yeah.
Get in the gym. If you want to get smarter, read.
And all of a sudden your bars are going up.
Yeah, you're starting to level up in your bars.
I always tell that. Like I tell that for like people like players when they come in and work out. Like, all right, let's look at this today. Like you're trying to earn VC for 2K.
Yeah.
Like let's get some skill points right now. Like
Exactly.
we're trying to, you know. So yeah, I know what you mean. Like
Yeah.
I feel like you would like Fallout. Have you ever played that?
I played it. I never had it, but I've played it a long time ago. At a friend's
It's the
house.
same people as Skyrim.
Bethesda.
Yep.
Oh,
It's the
interesting.
exact same, and it's very similar. You can like make like you make your guy, but like you just go through it and you can like play the game how you want to play it.
Right.
You make your own choices, things like that. So, yeah, I actually plugged in Skyrim the other day, but I just like didn't know what was going on, and I just like was like, I can't. This is too much.
It's not a game you can really like passively play.
Yeah, no,
Because
you have to be like in it.
For the first like 2 hours of it, you have to like get up and started, and you got to do these missions. Then you can kind of get free time to roam around. But yeah, I've what's really fascinating is the whole like metaverse and Oculus thing that's going on right now.
With Oculus?
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I want one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess, I mean, it would be cool. I feel like, I don't know how, like, I guess I don't have much thought on it because I've never put one on.
It's fucking weird.
I know.
Because it becomes so real that your nervous system picks up on it.
Yeah.
So, like, if shit's flying at you, like, your body gets the feeling of, it will jump. And it's just like, that literally feels like you're going into different dimensions of reality.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. Like there's this one I always like to play called,
Where do you
like,
play it?
my dad has one.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he does like golf on it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he watches Netflix on it too.
He's come in and he's got that on, just like
Yeah, my mom said she's done that a few times. And people always look so funny when they got an Oculus on because it does this thing to your face where it kind of pushes it down.
Yeah.
And then people's like are just sitting there with their mouth open, just like staring into the abyss. And yeah, apparently with the Netflix shows, you can be in like this theater and look around and shit, and the screens out
that's
there.
actually cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Damn, I want to get one actually. I mean, like,
I think that where Oculus and like virtual reality headsets will become really cool is when they can figure out how to combine that with nature.
Sure.
So like an example would be, have you ever seen people like plug in like the things into mushrooms and the mushrooms can play music?
Mm-mm.
I'll send you a video of it later. It's pretty wild. I'll also link it in the show notes. But people can have this device where it picks up on the electric impulses or the electric field of mushrooms,
Yeah.
and then the mushrooms like play this music.
Interesting.
So I was thinking if we can figure out how to like take a virtual reality headset and like plug it into the ground and connect it to like the mycelial network of the soil
Yeah.
and get like direct interface messages from the world or from the earth,
Yeah.
from
That'd
nature.
Be trippy.
Yeah.
Be cool. Yeah. I mean, just like anything where now it's like you like literally like in somewhere else. Like when you put that helmet on, you just like disappear and you're in some like that's like a different feeling. I mean, I haven't experienced it, so I don't really know.
Imagine, so you know when you're a kid and you're so creative, you can like build worlds for yourself and like you build your fort and like you have your dollhouse with your
like
dolls
that.
and you're like creating this own world for yourself.
Mm.
Imagine if you give a kid a virtual reality headset and they have the freedom to actually just like build this big fort and castle and then like go around and exist in it.
Like it's the actual like playground and then they can
that'd
just
be
do
the
whatever.
most wild thing to have as a kid.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet actually.
It would be, but I think there's a level of like worry that gets to it because I think it is so sensory stimulating that can release more dopamine than our bodies are used to.
Sure.
So you can get like attached to being in this other world that
Right.
you no longer are present with the people around you. You no longer enjoy the little things like a sunrise with a cold glass of water.
Yeah, you just want to put your helmet on and go into a different world.
Yeah. Like why would I
Want to stay here.
right.
Yeah.
But then again, like I would because it's almost more rewarding to have that dopamine that you kind of earn.
Yeah.
As opposed to
you gotta be able to make your own fun. I feel like like now it just like if you had that would be like too much. I feel like I want my kid to just be like go play with the box, find a way to make it fun.
Go climb a tree.
Yeah. Go do something, whatever. Like, make your own fun. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's and like I have all these games and things like that, but I'm not like a hardcore gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, people that would say, "Oh, he's got over 300 games." Like, man, you just must sit in his room all the time and play. Like, I don't play a lot.
Yeah.
I work a lot and I lift a lot and I do other stuff and I have it's more the hunt of like finding the games and having the games and then like plugging them in and playing them a little bit, getting the feel of it and then being good with it. Like I'm the nostalgia seeker.
It's almost like you're collecting games more so than just wanting to sit on your ass all day and play video games.
And I like when my sister and her fiance came over and they're like looking at our games and they're like, "Oh, I remember playing this." Like that kind of thing is cool too. Like eventually I want to have this like crazy game room that like people can come over on like game and play game night. And
it's almost like a museum.
Yeah, and then we can just like have it so you can come and play and just like remember like playing these as a kid. Like my sister came over and played Roller Coaster Tycoon, which was like this super old game we used to play on the computer. And I don't have it on the computer, but I bought it on Xbox, like original Xbox. And first thing she wanted to do is like make a roller coaster and delete a track so that the thing flies off, everything blows up. But like that was shit that we did, and it was like funny, and so like it just brings you back. And that's like what I like it. Like that's why I like to like look for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So